Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Restored to More podcast. We are so excited for this conversation today, and we know you're going to be blessed by it.
Yeah, we have Scott McDowell here today. We're pumped. He is the grandson of Josh McDowell, the son of Sean McDowell, a junior at Biola University. He's on the basketball team, and he's helped leading right now a porn-free group at Biola, which I don't know any other juniors in college doing this right now. So it is great to have you on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited.
I think one of the things we all love is just a story, right? Just humanizing everything, because there's so many things right now that are not human with AI. But Scott, like, what is a part of your story? I know we're gonna jump in. I'll interject. I might interrupt you a little bit, but dude, just tell us and the people listening, like, what's a little bit of your story and the passion behind what you're doing right now.
So I remember the first time that I saw pornography. I was, I think, 8 years old. I was with some of my older cousins. We were on a cruise, and I remember they're like, "Scotty, come look at this." And I saw this, and I was like, "Ooh, I kind of like that, but I probably shouldn't look at that." I think I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and at that moment, it didn't become an addiction for me, but it planted a seed in my brain that I was like, "Ooh, I kind of like that." Now, for most people, most of my friends, like, their families didn't talk about pornography. That wasn't something that was addressed for them. For me, I was in a little bit of a unique situation, as you said, like my grandfather, Josh, and then my dad, Sean. I remember the youngest of age being in these talks with thousands of people, and my grandpa would be talking about the effects of pornography. And I remember sitting there being like, man, little does he know that his own grandson is addicted to porn. Little does he know that his own son is addicted to porn. And so that, honestly, it infested a lot of pride in myself that I could never say anything, that I would bring shame to the McDowell name if I ever confessed that I was watching pornography. Now, when I look back, I think my addiction to pornography really started my 8th grade year, freshman year in high school, when I got a phone and had a little bit more freedom. And that just continued throughout all of high school. I was looking at it all the time. It just became habitual in my life. Like, it just was a daily thing that I didn't really think much of it. Now, I did know that what I was doing was wrong, but I chose to continue to do it. And I believed a lot of the lies that I think you guys talk about here, that you can quit whenever. Like, I thought, oh my gosh, 100%. When I get married someday, I can quit. Or right before I get married, like, snap of the fingers, I can quit whenever. And so I went throughout all of high school just being like, yeah, I can quit whenever. It's not really affecting me. And I look back, and that was about the biggest lie that the devil was trying to have me believe, is that it wasn't affecting me. And so I went throughout all of high school, and I didn't tell a soul. You would have, if anybody asked me, I actually remember many people would ask me, "Oh, you struggling with porn?" I remember a mentor of mine asked me, looked him straight in the face, was like, nah, that's not me. Like, don't worry. That's not something that I struggle with. And it wasn't until, so after high school, I went and played for school in Missouri, and we went on a little retreat as a team just up in the mountains, and we were not really mountains, but this little like campsite. And I remember our coach was like sharing a story about he had lost his family because of porn. And I remember sitting around the fire with a bunch of guys. We were kind of just like looking down. And I remember thinking, that can't be me.
Wow.
I remember thinking, that cannot be me. But now in that moment, I still was like, no way am I saying anything, right? I can work on this behind closed doors. And that was the first lie that I believed, is that, okay, I can stop, I can quit now, but that's not really affecting me. Yeah. And it wasn't until I tried to stop on my own, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop now. I'm going to stop doing it. And I'd go like a week or two, and then I'd fall again. Week or two, I would fall again. And it got to a point where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what am I doing with my life? And so I remember I was practicing, and our gym was at like the top of the hill. And what we had to do, like, you had to run down to go to our cabins, but we were in the middle of practice. I remember the Lord just so heavily put on my heart that I had to say something. And I had to tell my dad, but I was like, nope, zero chance am I telling my dad. Nope. And I just remember we were doing this full court drill, and I'm dribbling, and I just like, it got to the point where my heart felt so heavy. I was like, screw it. Dropped the ball, went into our locker room. I grabbed my phone, and I just ran down this hill. And at the bottom, there's like this little chapel that overlooked this lake that we were on. And I was like, I got on my knees, and I was like, Lord, I cannot tell my dad, like, I need you. Wow. I need this strength. I do believe that you are God and that you can restore me. I need your help. I literally cannot tell my dad. I'm so scared. And as far as I can remember, I remember just FaceTiming my dad. And I remember when it was doing the ring, I was like, please don't pick up. Please don't pick up. Please don't pick up.
Totally.
And then, yeah. And then he like picked up and he was like, hey, Scotty, like, he's like, hey, aren't you supposed to be in practice? And I just lost it. Like, I just unbelievably start crying. I don't remember. It had to have been like 5 minutes. I just couldn't get it out. Yeah. But I finally just was like, Dad, struggling with porn and I need help. And it was like, the second I said it was just like, oh, no way I just said that. And my dad looked at me. Remember, he looked at me and said, Scotty, he's like, I want you to know that I'm proud of you and that I love you. He said, I'm proud of you and I love you. And in that moment, it felt like I had been running my life with like a weighted vest on. That I had just been going through life with this just 20, 30 pounds of just baggage. And the second that I said it, he was just like, Scotty, I love you and I'm proud of you. It was like Jesus just took off that weighted vest and was like, you can sprint to me. You can sprint to me. And now I wish that was the end of the story. I really wish that at that moment was the last time that I ever looked at porn, and that was the end of the story. I wish I could be like, hey, let's done with the podcast. We're done. That sadly wasn't the case. I didn't actually know what it looks like to discipline myself and to really change the way that you live your life. Like one of the things that my dad's always said is like, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I was thinking that Go.
Well, no, before you, I just want to, sorry, I interrupt you, but I love that. And I want to get there. And I really do. I'm excited about that. Let me know a little more of your story. So the first time you saw pornography, you were 8 years old. And
it was 8.
Did you already have talks with your parents before that of like, things that could harm your brain, or, hey, you might see these things? Did you in that moment feel like I should tell anybody? Or did you just right away be like, because it's natural for us to be like, man, I enjoy looking at that, right? I think that's how God wired us. Like, hey, we were made to observe and understand beauty. And beauty, there's nothing more beautiful than God's creation, especially a woman. It's a beautiful thing. What did you do in that moment? Were you like, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody? Did you just hide it with your cousins? Like, what did that moment look like back when you were 8? Do you remember it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had conversations with my parents. Like, obviously, they were just talking up on stage and then not saying anything behind closed doors. We were having those conversations. For me, I don't know necessarily why. I think it was because it's just honestly the pride that was in my heart. Like, one of the things about pornography, and I think you can attest this, that it's the fruit of the issue. It's not the root of the issue.
Totally.
And for me, like, the root of the issue was pride. I never wanted to admit that I had a problem, and I always wanted control in my life. And it was something that I wanted to do. And so I think in that moment, even just from an early age, just who my dad and my grandpa were, I kind of thought that I was just better than everybody. Like that, just because of who they were, that like I was saved and that I just was literally better than just your normal Christian person. Like, and I look back and I think that's where a lot of that pride stemmed from. But in terms of that, I remember just thinking in that moment, like, oh, like I'm not going to say anything because if I do, like, I'm going to bring shame to the McDowell name, because I kind of liked watching it. Like, I was like, oh, like this is like kind of cool. Now, as best as I can remember, obviously it's been a while. Like, I don't believe that, like, I shouldn't have access to it. So it wasn't like I could just look at it anytime that I wanted to when I was young. But when it became older, like when I got into 8th grade, like freshman year, like, that's when it started to become an issue. And I was like wanting to look at it all the time. And
when you
did not want to have those conversations. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think that was about this. I'm just trying to remember, because I mean, there were always ways to look at it before.
Totally.
But if I go back, that was about the time I got a cell phone, and those were those things like I'd have the blockers on there, but you'd always find a way around it. And
for you, were you saved at the time? Like, do you remember when you gave your heart to the Lord? Like, when would you say, looking back? Yeah, where was Jesus during that season in your life?
So I would have said at that time that I was a Christian. I would have said 100% that I'm saved, but I look back, I want to say that I was, but I don't think that I actually was. I actually don't believe until I went to that school in Missouri, did I really say, like, do I believe in this? Like, do I believe, like Jesus said, or Jesus says in John, like, if you love me, you will follow my commands. And I was not following God's commands, especially I was wanting to live my life the way that I wanted to live my life. Yeah. And so I would say that it really was until I left high school that, no, I actually do believe what this is. And that's why I need to confess my sins and I need to tell my dad. And so that's really, I think, when it was like, no, I'm going to own my faith. My faith isn't my parents' faith.
That's so good, Scott. Cool. There's so much you just said. That's so much truth. It's always like this convoluted experience of like, oh, I want to do good. I don't want to do bad. There's that pride, like you talked about. There's also that fear, right? That's like, man, how are people that I love going to respond if I'm not like this perfect person that I've created this persona to be? You know what I mean? And not that we were ever perfect, but I think I can, I think for me, that was my story, at least. I'll talk in I and me statements, but like for me, it was like, oh, I felt like I put off this aura. It was so good. And I couldn't taint that by being like, oh, by the way, I'm like watching pornography. You know what I mean? Like that would just be like, oh my God, it's like you're a horrible person, And so I totally get what you're saying and totally get that. And I love that you're talking about like that whole piece of surrender. I think so many men, especially young men who have that kind of aura, that persona that is like they're in church, they're serving, they're doing good things. It's like, hey, I just want to handle this on my own in silence, right? Like I'm going to pray that God, you take it away, but I don't want you to take it away by me vocalizing it and being honest with other people. Like, I just want you to heal me like you healed everybody in the Bible. You just touched them and like, boom, hallelujah, pick up my mat and walk away from pornography forever. And I just think like that's not the story with most of us, that most of us had to do extra steps of confession and going to people that we were absolutely terrified to go to confess to. So I think that's phenomenal that you did that. And
God, yeah, I would say God calls us to do hard things, like walking in purity, like not like it's hard. It is extremely hard. But Jesus says in Luke 9, like, if anybody wants to follow me, he must first deny himself, take up his cross daily and follow me. Like, this is a daily battle that I know you're still not out of.
Yeah.
Like I know you're so I'm not out of it. You're never gonna be out of it. Marriage, as you said, like marriage doesn't fix that.
No.
It actually probably amplifies it. I'm not married, but I'm sure that it actually amplifies it. And so like, yeah, Jesus has to deny yourself daily. It's a daily battle that we're in.
I want to, since we're in high school mode, let's just stay there and then we'll transition to that moment with your dad. What I want you to take us to high school. Like, is this socially acceptable in high school to watch pornography? Is it something that you just know? Is it something you guys are talking about? Like, where does pornography fit in high school?
And you're talking about with Christian circles? Like, is he around Christian men or just public, like in general?
Yeah, whatever his story is. I'm sure you probably had friends that were both. So the stat is pretty similar on both ends here. So
yeah, so I went to a small Christian school. I think like there's like 300 in the total high school, and it was not something that we talked about. Like at all. Not something that like anybody talked about. Now I look back, I know all of us were watching it. We just didn't talk about it. Now I had friends like playing basketball club and stuff that would like talk about it, that it was normal. Like it wasn't anything crazy. I didn't have any like crazy just talks in high school with any of my friends, honestly, like about it that I can fully remember. Honestly, it wasn't really until college and this stuff coming out, talking to a lot of my friends, like, oh my gosh, like literally all of us are like, even the statistics we're talking about at Biola, like probably 85 to 90%. Like it's just such a high number. We've had those debates where we were like, I wonder actually how many guys are looking at it. And so it may be higher. I really don't know. But in high school, I went to a small Christian school, so it wasn't, but I had a lot of friends who say that they would just talk about it with their friends like it was just nothing. I think they all inherently knew that it was wrong, but it wasn't something that they vocalized and were like, it was wrong. It was normal. Everybody does it. Like, who cares? It's not that big of a deal.
I feel like too, like in high school, there's two different groups. Like there's the public group that just talks about pornography or is showing pictures or things like that. And they're struggling. And I like what you said, the stats are probably the same. Like even in the Christian circles, they're probably just as much struggling, but I feel like there's so much more shame around it that they're not going to talk about it. They're all going to pretend everything's fine and stuff like that. But I do feel like in high school, there's almost this like, man, we don't know how to bring it up. And then something happens in college where you're like, oh no, I'm struggling. Like I want to talk about it. I want to get help. So, I mean, it's just interesting, like that demographic of ages.
I'm curious. So Clinton was a high school pastor a little bit in Idaho when we lived there for a little. And he shared a story with all these high schoolers. And we asked a stat and we were like, hey, like how many in this room are struggling with pornography? And no joke, 90% of the guys raised their hands. And 40% of the females raised their hands, which were incredible in a room of 100 students. We were really proud of the females who raised their hands. And so at that point we realized,
they raised their hands?
Oh yeah.
I love that. That's pretty awesome.
Cool, huh? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We did break them up, guys and girls. So the girls
it's higher than if it's
crazy, right?
Oh my gosh. That's
wild.
insane.
Yeah, right. And so, well, I think, and to be fair too, like we really came and shared our sexual brokenness. And so I think that really makes a big difference when you're talking to high schoolers, because then you're like, hey, like we're all on a playing field here. Like we're going to share our brokenness. And so now it's your turn, and we played a documentary and all the things for them. But I wonder for you, if you would have had somebody in high school talk about that. Do you think you would have been open then, or
that's
do
a
you
good
feel
question.
like college, you were just, your heart posture was just ready and different then?
So I had this, awesome that you say this. I had a mentor in high school. His name was Andre Argyes, who my dad helped him go. He lost his marriage because of porn. And when I was talking to him, I remember he came, we had conversations, and he was the one I just lied straight to his face. I was like, it's not something I struggle with.
Wow.
Oh,
Not something I struggle with. And I'm telling you, I was going to my grave with it.
wow.
Yeah.
I was like, I was not at a point where I was like, I was great. I'm like, I'm captain on the basketball team. Like I got everything that I need. I'm the man. I got a social media following. I got a business. Like, I don't need to, like, my life's going great. Like, who cares? Like, I'm not seeing any of the downsides to this.
Yeah.
And so, I remember having that conversation with him. And now I wish I would have listened to him even earlier. I wish, but I didn't. I was so prideful, and I needed to get humbled. The biggest thing is that I needed to get humbled.
And it sounds like you weren't humbled, Scott, until you really heard that story of this man that lost he had to confess to his wife and his daughter on like what happened, right? He almost lost his marriage because of it. Is that right? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. And then I would say, like, my story later that I can continue to tell was really when the Lord like humbled me, and I saw the destruction that pornography was doing in my life and in other people's lives. And that was the third lie that I believe, that if it is affecting me, it's only affecting me. It's not affecting anybody else. It's something that I can stop whenever I want to. It's not affecting. And that was the part that really humbled me, was I saw my sin was destroying people that I loved.
Wow. Okay, we'll go there. So
yeah, please tell us about that.
Transition back to
your story.
Yeah. So after, I remember when I confessed to my dad, like, I talked to some people at Link and the school that I was at, and I didn't have like great people around me there that were like, I mean, it was like there was a discipleship program there, but all my teammates weren't like really Christians. And so I didn't have like great community that was helping me make the right decisions. And honestly, what I try to do is I try to white knuckle it. I try to say, all right, like, I confess to my dad, I confess these things. I'm going to let like this, my emotions and my disgust towards pornography just be enough. Yeah. Just be enough. Yeah. And as I'm sure, as you know, like, that can only last for so long. Yep. Yep. It only lasts for so long. At some point, you're going to get faced with temptation again. And for me, that's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was. So I would I would count the days. I'm like, man, I'm like 60 days. I got this. Yeah. I'm good. The second you say you got this, you don't got this. That's the thing. Second you say you got it, it is like, that is the enemy's like, oh, really? So you got this.
That's so true.
And so I honestly, like, as I said before, like, pornography is not the root of the problem. It's a fruit of the problem. And when I went to Biola, I did not get to the root of the problem. I just thought pornography, it's an issue. I stopped watching it. I didn't get to understand how prideful that I was, that I thought that I was just better than everybody. I didn't want to listen to other people. I didn't want to do the dirty work and the little things in order to walk in what it looks like to ultimately to be restored. And so I remember I went into high school, or went into college at Biola, and like, it was similar. I'm like, everybody knows me at Biola. I'm one of 2 freshmen on the basketball team. Like, I'm the man. I'm like, I have so much freedom. Like, I'm living the way that I want to live. And now I wasn't actively like watching pornography, but something that a mentor told me at Link is he was like, Scotty, you may never have a desire to watch hard pornography again, but he's like, soft porn is going to be there. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, hey, you may never want to go to those websites again.
Sure.
But he goes, you're going to be scrolling on Instagram, you're scrolling on TikTok, and he's like, things are going to come there. He's like, and you're going to have to choose. He's like, because that's still porn. And I remember I was like, oh, interesting. Didn't listen to him. Didn't listen to him. Now, I wasn't going for about 2 years. I wasn't going to those websites, but I was looking at everything on Instagram. I was looking at everything on TikTok. I was watching whatever TV shows, movies that I wanted to watch. And I wasn't guarding my eyes to eventually, like, I was headed towards destruction. If
I can add right there, Scott, I feel like that's so true. So when I was talking to a lot of high schoolers about, hey, what's the struggle? A lot of them would say, it's not like your traditional pornography. Right. Everyone, I think I'm like, I don't know what my generation is. I'll go talk to your dad and read his book again, because I think it breaks down every generation. But I think about that, and it's like the pornography of my generation, I'm 35. It was hardcore pornography. It was like when we typed in hot girls, like pornography sites came up. Today, no, most people aren't doing that. Most students aren't doing that in high school or college. The struggle is Instagram. It's TikTok. It's watching things that are sexually promiscuous. It's watching girls do dances. It's watching these girls take photos themselves that are definitely trying to allure the sexual vibe. And so they're struggling with those things. And that's where masturbation takes place, because there's a lot of fantasy going on. So it's like there
Mm-hmm.
isn't necessarily even always nudity. It's not like just a naked person or a couple having sex. It's a lot of times these pictures, these images that are really driving this fantasy. And I'm curious to you, in the circles that you were in talking about it, would you say that's also the same thing that you're finding out today, whether it was high school or college? Was
Yeah,
more of those kind of images and things like that?
100%. Now, there still is a huge portion that is watching those websites, that are going to those websites. And honestly, and having conversations with them, a lot of times it starts on Instagram, TikTok, and then
Yeah.
it leads to going to those websites. That's what it was for me. But I think the biggest thing is like actually defining, okay, what is pornography? What does that mean? So like the root word is porneia, which just means, it's honestly, it's sexual immorality at its best. Like that's just what it means. And so that can be anything. That can be a fully clothed woman if it causes you to lust and seek out those lustful desires. So I was speaking at a youth group a couple weeks ago, and I was sharing this story where we had our men's group, and this kid came in and he's blind.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I'm missing something. He's blind. Why is he here at our porn free group? Like,
Yeah.
I love it. He can totally come here because it's not just a porn free group. Like, lust can be anything. Lust can be power, like any of those things. So I'm like, great that he's here. So I went, I was like, hey, I gotta ask you a question. I'm like, dude, like you're blind. Like, why are you here? And he looked at me, he goes like, he's like, oh, I can listen to it.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, I can, like the music that I'm listening to, or I can
Novels,
I can listen. And I literally felt like so weak. I was like, oh my gosh, like pornography is such a bigger issue than I even realized.
Yeah.
And that if somebody who's blind can struggle with porn, like we have such a huge issue. And when I talked to so I spoke about pornography, and I was reading the statistics, about 40 to 45% of women are watching pornography. But a question that I asked, because I think some girls like check out when they hear porn, is I said, hey, what books are you reading?
Mm.
And like it got really quiet for some of the girls. And in the small groups, I know some of their leaders told me a lot of them confessed that like the books that they're reading is straight porn. I've read some of that, like I've seen it to look.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Like this is horrible. But to me, like it does nothing to me. I see that, I'm like, that's gross. But I know a lot of girls, if they saw the stuff that's honestly, Clinton, you and me were probably looking at, they'd be like, ew, that's gross.
Oh yeah.
But it's just how men and women are different.
Oh yeah.
And so I like asking, like pornography doesn't have to just be a naked girl that you're watching or a naked guy. Like that's not, and that's a lie. I think the enemy wants you to think that that's what it is. It's no, that can be a fully clothed woman if it causes you to seek out your lustful desires.
Yeah.
Such a great point, Scott. And it's so good. At the root of it, it's taking this great gift of sex that God created and it's twisting it and it's using it in an immoral way. And it's just sexual immorality. And I think it's a great understanding, because I think a lot of people think pornography and they right away think, oh, it means this or it means that. And if we can expand that view to go, actually, it could mean so many things. And I just think, man, it's so devastating to us as people. My question to you, Scott, is looking back, how did pornography affect you personally? If you can look back at how it impacted you as a Christian young man or somebody who was maybe on their road of discovering God, how did it affect maybe your confidence? How did it affect the way you felt about yourself behind closed doors? How did it impact the way that you looked at women? How did it impact your relationship with men? I mean, if you can look back, how would you say that it impacted you as a young man?
So if you go to Luke 2:52, Luke tells us that Jesus grew in stature with both men and with God. What pornography does is that it pulls away from your relationship with God and also with other people. And it's unique in that way. I mean, sin does that, but sexual immorality does that, I think, to a T. Yeah. And so, man, it was bridging a gap between my relationship with the Lord and with myself. Like one of the things like people ask me, they're like, hey, like, how do I see what God's will is for my life? I know my dad gets that question all the time. If you look at the New Testament, it barely says this is what God's will is for your life verbatim, but it says it twice about sexual immorality. It says that in 1 Thessalonians 4:3. It says, if, what is it off the top of my head? It's, I'm blanking off the top of my head. Oh, it is God's will that you would abstain from sexual immorality. Then it is God's will that you would flee from sexual immorality, because it is sin against the body and the soul. And so, like, if you want to see what God's will is for your life, but you're watching porn and you're not walking in a restored manner, like you're not going to be able to see it. I saw that in my life. I was not able to see what God wanted from me when I was addicted to pornography. I just couldn't. I wasn't motivated. I was continuing to live in my prideful manner. It also was affecting my relationship with my team and my brothers. My desires were different. I was desiring different things. Honestly, I was desiring more like earthly things. And like I wanted to drink more. I wanted to do X, Y, and Z because I was addicted to pornography. But the biggest thing that it did was it affected my way that I was viewing women. And so like at Bio, I had been dating this girl, and it caused me to treat her a certain way. And I look back and it brings me so much pain. But for a long time, I didn't realize that it was actually causing me to just honestly treat her horribly. And it was all about me. I didn't want to listen to her. It was all about me. And that's like where my story continues. I remember sitting when Charlie Kirk got shot. I was living the way that I wanted to live. Like pornography was fully back in my life. And I was like, man, I definitely can't confess twice. Absolutely not. No way. So I remember sitting when Charlie Kirk got shot, I was sitting on my couch. I remember I literally looked up at the ceiling and I said, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? God has given me so many gifts. And I'm like, and I am squandering those. And so I remember in that moment, the Lord was like, it's time. Like you need to confess to your dad, but also you need to confess to her. And I was like, absolutely not. I love this girl. Like we've been dating for a long time. Like, no way. I can deal with this behind closed doors. But very quickly, they showed me that is just not the case. And I remember when I told my dad again, it wasn't as hard as the first time. He was just like, hey, Scott, I love you. He's like, hey, like, let's actually get to the root of this. Like, this is like, we need to get to the root of this and actually learn what it looks like to walk in a restored manner. And he was like, yeah, you got to tell her. And I was like, I know I have to. And so I just remember it was like the next day. It's like the hardest thing I ever had to do. Like we were in the car and I pulled her. I was like, hey, I got to tell you something. And I told her. And it was like her look on her face. It was like everything that she thought of me was like crumbled up and just thrown in the trash, like literally. And I remember she's like, drive me home. And so she's like, I drove her home. And then later that night, we talked. And I remember she just looked at me and she was like, she's like, Scotty, I love you. But she was like, I got to let you go. You have to figure this out for yourself. And I remember in the moment, I was like, oh no, like we can fix it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, no. I needed to learn what it looks like, to be humbled, but also like learn what it looks like to be restored and to not have this in my life. I was thinking, oh man, if we get married, like this is gonna stop. No, that's not gonna go away. And so that was the hardest thing I ever had to do was tell her. But the biggest thing she ever did, she was like, Scotty, I forgive you. But she's like, that doesn't mean that I let you back into my life right now. You're not the man that I want, and you're not the man that you want to be right now, which was so true. The most loving thing she ever did was let me go because of the sin that I had in my life. I needed to take that up with the Lord and just to be the man that God's called me to be. But that takes time and that takes work. And I think that it's not, sometimes it's a flip of the switch, but it takes time to learn what that looks like to walk in purity, honestly.
Scott, I love that you said that, because I think that resonates with so many young men, women, hopefully, who are listening to this episode. I really think that God, because we are made in God's image, and we know that there's a way to treat people. And I think we really want that. I really do believe that most men want to honor women. They want to treat women with respect. They want to be somebody the woman feels safe with, that a woman gives her heart to, and that she trusts and that she can rely on. And I think most men want to be that person. They can be trusted, that can respect them, that can honor them. And I think that there's this longing in our hearts, and pornography twists all of that. So now it says that, a woman is to be consumed. A woman is for my benefit. Her body is meant for my pleasure. So I can just use her and then throw her away. And pornography is it's so consumption based, right? Like we watch an image, we consume a woman in our mind, in our heart, with our body, and then we throw it away and we go to the next woman or the next scene or the next picture. And I think that's how we live. And so then when that comes into an actual physical relationship, then our brain is like, oh, this woman is just to be consumed. She's to be used. She's to be treated a certain way. And I think there's this, and when you said that, I just almost felt it in my body. Like there's this struggle that I think young men face where they're like, I don't want to be this way. I want to treat her with respect. I want to honor her, but I literally don't know how, because all I've seen is this. All I've seen is pornography. All I've seen is these types of movies where women are to be consumed. And I think a woman longs to be treasured and honored and respected and enjoyed for who she is, not just for her body. I think it's so heartbreaking how we see more and more younger women changing their way they look with different type of cosmetic things because they want to be loved and appreciated, but they're doing it in a way that fits this mold that's been twisted. And I just think like, man, if you're listening to this and you're a young man, I can't help but like really enunciate what you just said, Scott. And that is that in the beginning, it affected you and affected these things, but now it affected somebody else that you really cared about. You really cared about this girl. I can tell when you talk about her. And I have the same story. Like before Charity, there was a gal that it just eats me alive, even to this day, knowing how I treated her in college, knowing that I did not respect her. I did not honor her. And I used that relationship in ways that I never should have. And I think, man, I just hope that maybe that pain that we have of regret can speak to somebody today. Like, oh man, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to tell my girlfriend. I'm going to ask for help. Because I really believe if you're hearing this and it's resonating, you don't want to be that person. You want to change. And you have to reach out for help. Otherwise, you're going to continue to hurt that girl over and over again. And you'll be one of us on a podcast years from now saying, man, I live with that regret of how I treated that person. So I appreciate you being transparent and saying that, man. That's real.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. It's the 3 lies that doesn't affect you. You can quit whenever, and that it only affects you once you understand that it is affecting you. And another thing, I don't know about what it was for you, but I actually saw a change in the way that I was treating my sister and the way that I was treating my mom. So it's not just in romantic relationships. It's in the women that you just love the most. It bridges a gap between them. And I mean, you could ask my sister right now. She would say there's a clear and definitive difference between the way that I'm treating her now versus the way that I was treating her a year ago.
Can I ask you, Scott, what do that tendencies look like? Like, how did you treat her? Were you just a little more harsh? Were you a little more demanding?
I was way more harsh on her. Like this summer, like she told me, we got in like a fight. I like yelled at her and I just didn't care about her. I mean, obviously I did, but like I just didn't I didn't want to spend time with her. I didn't value her, I didn't treasure and ask her questions. Like now she knows that like I'm there to protect her and that I love her. And like just our relationship had just completely changed. And I mean, I directly credit that to like, I'm not watching porn anymore and I'm chasing after Christ. I think that's what I would say. And you can ask my mom the same thing. I'd have more harsh dialogue with my mom. I wouldn't listen to her. I wouldn't honor her. And so I think that it's not just in your romantic relationships. And actually, I don't know if you have a sister, but I saw that with my mom and my sister.
He doesn't have a sister, but I can.
You can attest to that.
I can attest to that. Yeah. Like as a wife, like I think what I tell people all the time is like, porn is very me focused. Like it's all about me. And so you don't have the capacity to see other people for who they are.
Oh, that's good.
So that's where he was, and I would even say that like he didn't have a sister, but he treated our kids like that, right? Like he treated me like that.
Just 0 to 100 so quickly.
So angry, so harsh. And honestly, just that didn't see us for who we were. Didn't even I always talk about this, but it was after recovery and he had been free and for a while. And for the first time in years for Christmas, he was like, hey, what kind of ice cream do you like? And, if you could have any kind of coffee, where would you want it? And I'm like, bro, we've been married for this long, but it truly meant a lot to me because for the first time he was realizing, oh, like I can look up and I can.
You became a person.
I became a person.
So terrible to say, but it's just the reality.
But he had time to see me for who I was and time to see our kids for who they were rather than always being consumed with, is someone going to find out when's my next high? Like you're so consumed when you're addicted to pornography.
I think it's a blindfold.
Yes, bro. I just feel like, I don't know if any high school girl is ever going to hear this episode, but if they hear it and they're dating somebody who is just overly consumed with themselves, I hope they start having some red flags. Like, I hope that a girl is like, wait, I feel like this isn't about me. I feel like this is all about you. It's all about your relationship. And they should start going, hey, how often is my boyfriend watching porn? Like how much social media is he consuming and scrolling? How many other women's bodies is he consuming in his mind? How much lust is happening? Because again, I don't have any daughters, but I it's like we have nieces now, and like, oh, our boys are hanging out with little girls. And I'm like, oh, I just want every little girl to know that she deserves to be chosen. She deserves to be loved. She deserves to be honored. And my hope is that more and more of these young women, these students in high school, these college age gals, they realize that our maker gave them this intrinsic, beautiful value that most men don't understand. And it's worth waiting for the man that finally has
Yep.
the right eyes for her, because he won't just be looking at her body.
Yeah.
He'll be looking at who she is underneath all that. And I just think, man, I just hope that we get to turn a tide here. You know what I mean? Take back some enemy ground.
I agree with you. I think if you're a girl, I think one of the things you should do is, I'm talking to my dad about this, but you should just ask your boyfriend, hey, you watching porn? Just like randomly.
Boom.
And see what his reaction
Yeah.
is. Exactly. I was having, so some of my friends, they're girls in the, they live in the back house behind us. And we were having this conversation and I was like, hey, like, she's like talking to me. I was like, hey, watch, first date, when you go out with him, just like ask him and see what his reaction is. If he's like super defensive, I would take big red flags there. Big red flags. But if he just like is calm, is like, hey, if he tells you, no, I've never once struggled with it, I'd be like, big red flags there. But if he's like, hey, like, this is something I'm working through, like, you just don't not do that. Like, there's no way, like, as guys, the way that we're visually stimulated and the way that it's literally given to us 24/7, any access to it, somebody says that they're not, like, at least like working through that, like, I think that's a red flag. 100%.
Scott, what's worked for you? I mean, you've talked about, to make, we're going to be closing out here in a few minutes. I want to hear, like, so you have this confession and you go back, you tell your girlfriend, you talk to your dad, and then he says, hey, let's start finding out the root. What do you think today is really keeping you, integrous with your sexuality? What's keeping you at a point where, oh, I know that it's like, it's only a click away. I mean, all of us could find pornography in like 5 seconds right now with everything we have access to. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm not avoiding it with everything. Like, but what's keeping you walking in freedom right now? What's worked?
For me, it's community. It is community. One of the things that I know my ex-girlfriend, she had prayed for me was that I would find community because I didn't have any. Something that my parents said, like, finding community. And the Lord ultimately blessed that with me with this group. There's about 80 guys, and I have a small group inside of it, about 6 of us who we've been walking life with. I make phone calls every single day, text messages to them for the last 7 months. And so the biggest thing I would say is community. But also there's a super interesting line in John 8 with a woman, with the adulterous woman, and Jesus is drawing the line in the sand, and it's about casting the stone. And what does he say to her? He says, go and sin no more. He doesn't say, go, you're never going to sin again. He says, go and sin no more. I see that as go and install the disciplines in your life to see what it looks like to follow me. And for me, I've had to instill disciplines into my life. Like, I'm not watching movies or TV shows if there's big sex scenes in it. I'm not doing it. I'm not in my phone on my bed at night at like 1 a.m. It's not happening. It's a recipe for disaster. If you put yourself in situations, like, at some point you're going to fail. At some point you can't, like, you're human, your sin nature is going to come out and you're going to fail. So it's all about putting this, yourself in the right situations. But at the end of the day, there has to be a heart change. There has to be a heart change. I have friends who it's like they have all the blockers, but they don't have the heart change. There's a way around it. That was my story. And so I believe that you have to ultimately, like, the desire to look at pornography, it's not necessarily a bad thing. God has designed us to look at sex, but I think you need to replace that desire. And I think the only desire that you can replace it with and actually walk in fruitful, restored purity is Jesus and his love, because his love is greater than ultimately what pornography will give you, because pornography works for a little bit. If it didn't work for a little bit, you wouldn't have ever looked at it. It doesn't make sense. But it leaves you hopeless and it destroys your life and your relationships, and that Jesus doesn't.
So good.
So did you start this group at your school? Was it already a group?
I didn't start it. And it was started by like a really good friend of mine now. And I remember this was like, I mean, it had to have been a week after all this went down. And my friend was, hey, I saw this like poster or whatever, and it was like porn free. And it was like, Lord was like, you got to go. Like, you got to go. And I remember there was some serious spiritual warfare. I did not want to go. I was scared. I'm like, man, like, everyone, they're like, I don't want to go. I remember I walked in and there was like maybe 10, I think there was like 10 or 12 guys. And I saw one of my friends there, and it just was like, oh, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. And I've seen this group go, and now I'm one of the leaders of the group now. And I've seen this group just grow. And like, I think we had like 80 plus guys come, and it's just like, it's amazing. And so I didn't actually start this group, but I helped lead it. And like, it's just, I've seen so many men just at Biola just completely changed. And we put posters everywhere, all over the men's bathroom. I started the Instagram for it. Like, it's pretty fun. And so, we have a lot of guys coming in, and I mean, the Lord has completely blessed this group. It's awesome.
That is so cool,
awesome.
Scott. Well, hey man, we are so pumped for you, brother. We are just so grateful. I love you sharing your story. I know you're going to bless a lot of people with your heart and just that, just that courage that you're taking every day to just be real, And so I hope people listen to this, man. They invite you out to their youth group. They have you come speak at something. I don't know what the vision or the goal is. Do you have anything right now that you're like praying?
I'd love to.
What that?
No, I would love to. I got some. I'm just honestly growing in my faith, being at Biola, and just honestly really try to study the Word. And yeah, I got some speaking events that I'm doing, and I post a lot of stuff on social media. So, yeah, I would love to come speak at a group if you'd like me to.
I mean, that's fantastic. Well, brother, how can they learn? What's the Instagram handle that they can check out?
Just Scott McDowell on YouTube and on Instagram and TikTok as well. Just my name, Scott McDowell. And so, yeah, that's where you can find me.
We'll make sure we put that in the show notes too. Well, hey, brother, thank you so much for being with us. It has been an honor to have this conversation. Thanks for spending this time with us.
Thank you guys for having me. It was awesome.